Okay, this video I wanted to do a little different. This was, I have Sherlock as my backdrop right now because he's my helper dog. And had the videos on our evolution of our greenhouse, and I've been commenting with somebody on one of the videos. I might butcher this, so apologize, but it's Bob Bunn, I think it was 9680 or something like that. Apologize if I have that incorrect. But he or she, I'm assuming it's a he since it was Bob, was saying that they have a greenhouse and their big problem is the air infiltration into the greenhouse in the winter time. Basically, they want to try to keep the greenhouse warm, but the air keeps getting in. And they don't have a greenhouse that's the same as ours, but it's similar. And so then that got me to thinking about some potential solutions. And then I'm like, I'm not going to be able to write this, so I was just going to do a video with a couple of props to show you what I was thinking. And so the first thing I wanted to do is, a neighbor of ours got the same greenhouse that we got previously, which was that version, which was what they call a high tunnel or an arch greenhouse, and it was 10 by 20. He got the same one as we did, and where we used our anchors, which are right here, this is how we keep the greenhouse from flying away. What he did, he didn't want to do that, so he got a 4x4 perimeter piece and went all the way around the greenhouse with a pressure treated 4x4. And then what he did is he used conduit attachments, where these are 0.6 inches, and so he got a 3/4 inch conduit attachment, which has a screw hole here, then it goes up over, back down, and another screw hole on this side. So that's how he attached the greenhouse down. Then he came in and he had the flap, which is like this, and he stapled it. Whoops, hold on a second. I inadvertently moved the pressure treated piece. But then he took staples and he stapled it into the sides here. Now, what we were talking about on the comments was what he wanted to do. This would be the Bob Bunn person. What he wanted to do is he wants to have his greenhouse up in the wintertime and he wants to take it out in the summertime. So having a permanent attachment with staples like this would not work for him, because then he'd have to take the staples out and he would constantly be puncturing the greenhouse plastic, which would not be good. So that got me thinking of, how could you be able to take this thing up and put it back and still be able to keep the air infiltration down to a minimum in the process. The reason why I started with this was because with the staples on the side, it was able, as long as the ground part was flat, you could be able to keep the air infiltration down with this system. But it's not good for reusable, as in take on, take off. So then I got to thinking, what would be good to be able to do that? And so let me come over here. All right, this is our shade cloth right here, and this is a grommet right there. Now this grommet is designed for ropes, but they have grommets of different sizes. You can get grommets bigger than this, you can get grommets smaller than this. But what you could do is you could take a grommet like that, although it could be smaller than that, and then you could puncture the plastic with the grommet around it, so then the grommet would protect the whole of the plastic so it wouldn't rip. And then you could take a screw, just a regular exterior wood screw, with a fender washer like this, and then you could screw that into the 4x4, and then you could do it like every 6 or 8 inches or so. And then because of the grommet is there, you could be able to take that out and put that in fairly easily every single year. Now Andrea, my wife, she asked if the frame staying put in the wintertime, or is you just removing the plastic? I can't remember if you said that on a comment. If you did, I apologize. But if you remove it, then you would still have your conduit pieces here, and then those could just get unscrewed, and then you could just put them back in. Or obviously, if you leave the frame in the summertime and just take the plastic off, then the whole thing would just stay. And so I figured that would be one good way to be able to do that. And if you have the screws, like that far apart or something, then it should be able to keep the air down to a minimum. Another thing that you could do, but you wouldn't be able to use the grommets because you wouldn't be able to know exactly where these holes were going to be year in and year out, is that you could take a 4x4 like it is, and then you could sandwich like a 2x4 on the outside of it, and then you could put the screws in this way. And then because the plastic is sandwiched between the 4x4 and the 2x4, that could substantially, or probably even eliminate any airflow going underneath the greenhouse. So those were the two options that we thought of last night to be able to do that. Now, our big problem, because we're in the south here, is more wind related than it is airflow and cold related. So after the last storm, I don't know if you can really see it here, but this bottom frame has bowed out a little bit. So we were wanting to beef up the greenhouse our way. So hold on a second, let me change this out, and then I'll tell you what we're going to do. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do something similar, except we're going to use a 2x4, and we're going to put it flat on the ground like this. The reason for the 2x4 is that I can take a 10-foot 2x4 piece and take it all the way across to the other side, and then I can make sure that the pipe is going to be straight so it doesn't bend. I don't know if you can hear or not, but the chickens are just having a fit. They haven't been out in several days, so they're like not happy right now. So I don't know how much you can hear it on the video, but it's really annoying in real life. So if I pause for a second, it's because of them, and I lose my train of thought, so I apologize. But anyway, getting back to this, what we're going to do is we're going to buy pressure treated 2x4s. We're going to run them flat like this, and then we're going to take those same conduit fasteners that what I was talking about, where they start here and it goes over to the other side, and then there's another screw there. So we're going to have them every so often doing this to attach the frame to the wood. Then the only other part is trying to figure out what to do with the plastic itself, because what we bought, and it was really effective, is we have these clips here that we got from, I think Andrea got it from Johnny Seeds. But they're designed for greenhouse plastic for small greenhouses. And so what we did was, oh, hold on a second. We wrapped the plastic underneath like this, and then we stuck the clip underneath. Now, I'm not putting the clip on because these things are a pain to get on and off because they're really tight, which was really good because they held up in our wind problems that we've had over the last week. And we've had gusts of wind over 40 miles an hour, and these things held up good, and it did not break the plastic. And so let me try to scoot around the corner real quick. Let me show you. Like, there's one in action right there. Where's my finger? Ah, there we go. So there's a clip in place right there. So like I said, these hold up really well for that. But the problem is the air was getting underneath, which was lifting the greenhouse, which is why we have all of our straps over here, which I'll get up in a minute and I'll show you that in more detail. But the problem with having these clips like this, in order to get the conduit in there, we'll have to puncture the plastic, which we don't want to do. So what Andre and I were thinking about doing was to do this. We were thinking about having the conduit piece in there and then taking the plastic and wrapping it underneath the 2x4. Now, I don't know exactly how we're going to attach it yet, but that's the theory. Now, we will definitely have to attach it, because if we don't, it's just going to blow right out again. Like the problems we had with the original greenhouses, where we were using the sandbags here to keep the flaps in place. As soon as the winds got above about 20 miles an hour, then the sandbags wouldn't work. And each of these sandbags weigh about 50 pounds. And we'd have them lined up like this, and we'd have the flaps on the outside with the sandbags on top and keeping everything taut. And then as soon as the wind hit 20 miles an hour, the flaps would just fly out. And so that was not a good solution for the wind situation. And it was not a good solution for the air infiltration either. We already have the sandbags, that's why they're here. But they're not really useful for anything. And so that's my 2 cents on the sandbags. The sandbags were a good idea. They didn't work the way we wanted them to work. So anyway, I think that's what we're going to do. But I have to figure out how we're going to attach the greenhouse plastic to it. In our situation, I don't think we're going to take the plastic up and then take it back down. I think for the life of this greenhouse, I think it's going to be up like it is. So we would not have to have the grommet situation. But if we attach, we could still attach and then use the fender washers like this. The fender washers we originally used on the chicken coop because we used 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch mesh, and then these big washers here you would just put in there, and it's bigger than the 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch, so it was perfect to actually do that. And so dog's barking for some reason, so hold on. All right, now I got that sorted out. All right, so here's our strapping that we have. And so this is just normal greenhouse fabric. And these were actually taut, so they're not taut now. So that's how much the wind has moved everything. But these held up during all the wind storms. So the greenhouse, except for lifting up a few inches every time a good gust of wind would come in, these kept the greenhouse in place on, I would say, up to 50 mile an hour wind gusts. So I call that good. Now, if we come in and do what I was talking about here, then we might not need as many of those. Now the anchors, let me come over here where the other greenhouse was. We have 6 anchors on the side, and the only reason we have 6 anchors on the side is because the original 2 greenhouses were 20 feet long, and I had 4 anchors in the ground on each side, as you see here. And so I did not want to move these anchors, so we just added 1 on each end. So we added 4 more anchors total. So that's how we ended up with 6. On a greenhouse like this, you could end up with 6 like this, or maybe you could reduce it a little bit. Now the anchors you can get on Amazon, the grommet and the grommet maker, which is the little tool to actually cut the plastic and make the grommet itself, that you can get on Amazon. The fender washers, the best way to get that is Amazon, and that is their actual name, is fender washer. And once you pull that up, then 100 of them will appear of different kinds, and you pick out whichever one you want. Now, the thing about this particular anchor, if you want to go the anchor route, is, of course it's not going to do it now, but the top of these can unscrew, and then if you have the proper bit on your drill, you can actually screw down these anchors, so you're not having to put them in manually. And so that's how I was able to do all of these, is the top of these were off and I was able to screw them all the way down. Now technically in our environment, because we're in a hurricane zone, 15-inch anchors are not deep enough. Typically you need 30-inch anchors, but the 30-inch anchors cost significantly more money. And so I figured if this greenhouse is not going to survive on a 15-inch anchor, I don't think it would survive with a 30-inch anchor, because I think the frame itself would get destroyed at that point. So I wasn't spending 3 times as much on 30-inch anchors. So I think that's it. Hold on, let me see if I can think of anything else. All right, the only other thing I can think of is if you decide to go the greenhouse rope route, the knot I used is called a double dragon knot. And the reason I used that particular knot is that it's very easy to do. You can't adjust it like you can with other knots, but it's not a compound knot. And so once you get used to it, it's very easy to do. And I thought simplicity at the end of the day was going to be better than trying to come up with some very complicated knot. Because there's like trailer knots and all this other stuff that you can adjust, but those are compound knots, and I really didn't feel like doing that. And of course the guys are having fun right now. So anyway, I think that answered pretty much all of Bob's questions. And I think that's where we're going to go next for us, is we're going to get 2x4s. We're going to attach the 2x4s to the bottom of the frame here, and then figure out a way how to attach the plastic, so then the plastic can be secured. Unfortunately, our little clip things here, which work very well, we're not going to be able to use anymore. Now, I guess I want to say one other thing. Let me come inside here. Let me come over to this side where the clips are still in. Or hold on a second. All right, guys are still going to town out here. All right, so better than to do it outside than inside. But what I wanted to show you, this side, the clips are still in, and there is a connector for the conduit where you have the screw that comes in here, and then it arches over and then there's this nothing on that side. You can do that, and then if you did that, you could preserve everything the way it is right now without puncturing any of the plastic. I don't want to go that route simply because in a high wind situation, which is the primary reason for doing this, I don't think that that would be strong enough because there's not screws on both sides. And so, this is what normally happens, by the way. Lady Pants is a lot younger than Sherlock. Lady Pants will turn 3 this month, and Sherlock is 8. So Sherlock only has so much gas in the tank now because he's an old man. But anyway, I don't think having the conduit piece where with just one screw here and coming over would be strong enough. I'm concerned that in a high wind, it'll just bend the conduit piece back, and then we'll be right back to where we were before. Now, if the primary purpose for us for this was not high wind, that might work, but that's just another option. But I still think for the air intrusion, having a 4x4 and with the grommet system that I talked about at the beginning, Sherlock, seriously, is going to be, come on. All right. I think that'll be the best bet. So I hope this answered some questions. While I was doing the video, I was doing some mental thinking too. So maybe I can help for myself while I'm doing all this. So that's just some thoughts I had. And we'll see what my final version is going to end up being. Hopefully I have a little time to think about it. But some sort of thing with the 2x4. Now, the reason why we wanted to go with the 2x4, not a 4x4, well, one is the cost, but two is I want to be able to get the yard cart in and out of here. And the yard cart will still be able to go over that. But the yard cart would have a hard time, especially if it's heavy. The yard cart will have a hard time going over a 2x4 with that on top of it, because when we load up the yard cart, we load it up with dirt about once a year to fill dirt into the chicken run, and it's really hard to get it through there because that's about 4 inches tall to get it through there. So that's the reason why we want to go with the 2x4 instead of a 4x4. But if that's not a concern, then a 4x4 would probably be the way to go. So, all right, I think I'm done rambling. If I can think of anything else, then I might either put a comment on the video or do another video. But I think that's it for now.